Dr. Justin Vaughn, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science at Boise State University, joining us live from out of Idaho. And also, at the same time, we are going to be talking to, Peter Schiff is going to join us in just a couple of minutes from the other coast over in Connecticut. But let's start with Justin, if we could. Basically, Justin, these guys are going into this third and final debate neck and neck, 46% apiece. 15 days ago before the polls, the elections, 20% of the electorate undecided, and the question they need an answer to is which man is going to best represent as well as defend U.S. interests abroad. Who do you think the man is, Justin?
I think that going into this debate, at least, President Obama is going to have the advantage in turning most of those undecideds his way. It's much more difficult for an incumbent, for a challenger, particularly one like Mitt Romney, who has very little foreign policy experience, to unseat an incumbent who has quite a record of success in foreign policy, as President Obama does.
All right, Justin, stay right there. Let's bring in Peter Schiff, CEO at Euro Pacific Capital. He joins us from the other coast, live out of Connecticut. Peter, good to have you with us. You heard what Justin was saying. You're arguing for Mitt Romney. Tell us why.
Well, first of all, I think of the three debates, this one might have the least determination as far or impact on the outcome. First of all, I don't think a lot of Americans are as worried about foreign policy as they are about the issues that more relate to their pocketbook. Plus, you've got a baseball seventh game of a championship series. You got Monday Night Football on, so I don't think it's going to have as big an audience. So, barring any major gaps, I don't think it's as significant. But I think that the problem could be for the president in how he explains the Libya situation, because I do think he is in a bit of a political bind here, and so he's going to have to be on the defensive when it comes to Libya.
And Peter, some say the outcome of this debate on foreign policy could decide the election. I mean, they are neck and neck in the polls right now, and you have to admit that foreign policy hasn't been a strong point of Romney up to this point. He offended quite a few people last summer.
Well, I think Americans are worried about inflation. They're worried about the rising price of food and energy, unemployment, taxes, the economy. I think they should be worried more about the money we're wasting on military spending. But unfortunately, neither of these candidates, either the president nor Governor Romney, is going to talk about significant reductions in the money we spend on the military. I think our country is broke. The government needs to slash spending across the board on domestic programs, on entitlements, and on national defense. Maybe if we had Gary Johnson, the Libertarian candidate, if he was there, you might hear this. But I don't think neither candidate is going to talk about what really needs to be done when it comes to foreign policy, and that is a smaller military presence abroad, less nation building, less on offense, and more money spent on defense.
Justin, let me just bring you in just to reply to some of those issues, because get a bit more granular on this. If Romney does win and he appoints Bob Zoellick as Secretary of State, Bob Zoellick, as you know, ex-World Bank, is he in a better position to communicate the Romney strategy, especially on China, to the foreign audience?
I don't necessarily think that. I think Zoellick would be a fine Secretary of State if Governor Romney wins this election. I don't think, however, he would necessarily be any more effective than Secretary Clinton has been as Secretary of State over the last several years. She's been an extraordinary representative of the country, and I think has done quite well in elucidating the Obama administration's positions and agenda abroad.
Okay, Peter, you were mentioning that voters want to hear about the economy. Well, the one topic with this upcoming debate that could tie directly into the economy is China. Just how hard do you think Romney and Obama are going to debate on this? Peter, you go first.
Well, they might try to, go at each other over who can be the toughest on China. But the bottom line is, even if Romney wins, he's not going to do anything about China, because he can't impose tariffs on Americans who want to buy Chinese goods. The economy can't afford that. I mean, China is our biggest banker. They're lending us a lot of money. They're subsidizing our economy. And the last thing we're going to do is bite the hand that feeds us. But ultimately, I think it's the Chinese who are going to stop subsidizing our economy, and that's when we're going to have a real problem here in the United States. But I think the real national security issue is our own budget deficit. The fact that we're borrowing so much money from China and Japan and so many other countries is what's weakening our defense capability, because when they stop lending us money and the dollar tanks and prices skyrocket, we're not going to be able to afford to maintain the troops or supply the troops. And our biggest threat is not from without, but from within. It's Washington and its spending and its deficits.
Justin, what's your view on this? Do you think Obama could potentially lose votes to Romney if he is talking tough on China, and unemployed voters out there say, you know what, this sounds good, I'm going to buy into this?
You know, I think a lot of what Peter said about China is correct. And I think that we're going to see both Obama and Romney come out tough on China. Romney probably more so than Obama, simply because Obama has the realities of office to deal with. In that sense, Obama's got a difficult position to negotiate this evening, as he has to simultaneously match Romney's toughness on China and with respect to economic issues, but also be reasonable and not quite as bellicose as the governor has been in certain ways. Yet with the risk that if he's not as bellicose or close to, that the idea may play out that he's being too easy on the Chinese at the expense of American consumers.
All right, guys, let's pull it broader. One last question before I let you both go, and I'm going to end up cheesing off at least one of you guys, I know, but I need to try this. You've got this pivot towards Asia, which Obama started, but historically out here in Asia, governments have been much more comfortable with Republican administrations seen as tough on defense and protecting friends out here in this part of the world, and not too bothered about human rights and labor conditions and the like. Is that a fair assessment? Justin, let's start with you.
I don't know that that's a fair assessment. I think the Democrats have a greater reputation for being concerned about issues of human rights. But I think that the one administration we've had in recent decades that was a Democratic administration showed that free trade issues will trump human rights when push comes to shove.
All right, Peter?
Well, I haven't seen much difference in the foreign policies of either the Republicans or the Democrats. To me, they seem very interventionist, and I don't think anything really changes when it comes to foreign policy. I think that the key is we can't afford this foreign policy. We can't afford this defense. I don't know how the world feels about having to lend us so much money to defend ourselves, because we can't afford to pay for our military on our own. We can't afford to support our military on our own. And our problems, our economic problems are not made in China. Just about everything else is. But we've made our problems on our own. And in fact, we're exporting problems to China. They have an inflation problem because of us, because of all the money they have to print.